Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Joan and Elizabeth. Elizabeth, do you want me to call you Liz or Elizabeth? Liz?
You can call me anything other than Betsy. I'm good.
You'll have to tell me what that means later. But let's see. So this show is about what I've been in a position where I've been a first-time leader many times, meaning that I worked for the government, I moved from jurisdiction to different jurisdiction. And every time I went, I was new to the culture, new to how everything worked. And I just feel that sometimes, all right, I'm going to say most of the time, people are promoted and then they're just left on their own. I like to use the example of someone digging a ditch in the street. And this man or woman is exceptionally fantastic at getting the corners perfect and knowing when to put shoring in so that it's safe. And then someone says, wow, you're so great at that. You probably will make a great supervisor. So you pull him out from his buddies or her buddies that they've worked with for a long time. And now they're the supervisor of the people they used to work with. And no one really gives them tips and tricks on how to do it. So that's what we're here for today, to give some tips and tricks and talk about maybe some books and things that have helped both of us in our quest to be great leaders. And I want to let you know that if you are on, this is live on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So if you're on any of those, you can put a comment in and Elizabeth and I will see it. And then I have this magic way where I can, maybe if I hit the chat, nope, nobody's there just yet. But when I see it, I can display your comment on the screen and we can discuss it. And if you have a question, Elizabeth especially is here to answer some questions. So that's my intro. So Elizabeth, would you like to just tell us about yourself a little bit?
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
So I'm Elizabeth. I am currently a general manager of 2 hotels for Marriott. I have been a leader for, I would say, about 6 to 8 years, 14 years in the hospitality industry. And I was, of course, once a first-time leader. And I experienced a lot of what everybody is kind of going through right now. And so Joan and I decided, let's tackle this together. So here we are.
And, we're going to talk about some topics that I did a little bit of market research on. I just want to see if anyone's trying to get on. I did some market research on what people in that position would want to hear about, to learn about, and some of the things that they told me, and it was a very small market sample, and Elizabeth was included in it. I interviewed some people that were first-time managers and leaders, and then I interviewed people that were seasoned leaders, what they would want them to know. So I took all that information and made a course out of it, which I call Emerging Leader Success Academy. And one of the things people mentioned often, Elizabeth, was imposter syndrome, that they were dealing with imposter syndrome. Can you tell us what you think about that, or some tips for people that are dealing with that?
Got it. So if you want to think about imposter syndrome, I can quote, I think it's Nicole Walters, who says, imposter syndrome is the failure and inability to recognize your own success because of your past, your upbringing, or what society may have told you. So I love that, because if you think about it, you're stepping ahead of yourself. You're the one who's stopping yourself from achieving greatness because you're just thinking about your past. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be good at this because somebody else told me I'm not really good at it. Or what's society going to really think about what I'm doing? Does it really matter? No, try to do it for yourself. That's the best part about it. So typically as leaders, especially as first-time leaders, there's a lot of pressure because now you just went from being part of the crowd to standing out. And since you're standing out, all eyes are on you and you're scared of making mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets to your head. That's the imposter syndrome right there, being scared to fail. But guess what? It's the best time to fail. Imagine if you're the CEO of the company and you have like 400 employees under you. Like, that pressure is really big. But if you're a first-time leader, you're expected. It's an expectation that something may go wrong. If it doesn't, sweet. If not, you know what? Do one of these, you get up and you learn. So that's what I like about knowing that imposter syndrome actually exists.
Can you tell me the person that you got that quote from?
Oh, Nicole Walters.
And who is she? I don't know her.
Oh, sorry. She is the CEO of Inherent Learning. She's a coach for entrepreneurs. She helps people build their businesses. And she has this class academy that she does and which is pretty cool. So I think it helps. It helps a lot. Oh, there's Vivian.
There's Vivian. Check that out. Coming to us from YouTube. She's watching through YouTube. That might be my first person ever watching through YouTube. And what I also like to say about imposter syndrome is that it is so prevalent that they have a name for it. Years ago, we didn't have the name imposter syndrome that I'm aware of. And so to just let everybody know that it's so common, like everybody has it. Everybody has it all the time. I have it right before I hit the button that says go live. Like, oh my gosh, who do I think I am? And who's going to even listen? And so,
yeah. Everybody goes through it, even the people you don't think are going through it. All of the CEOs, just right before they're going to interview somebody, they probably have it. They just feel a bit more confident. They display a lot more confidence, which may make you think that they don't have it, but they probably do.
Let me just ask, because Vivian is saying I couldn't figure out how to watch it on LinkedIn.
Or is the link?
It's weird that nobody's here because you had so many people talking to you.
Yes.
So Vivian, I'm writing, did you go to my LinkedIn profile? And I'm on LinkedIn, and I mean, it's live.
Yep, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe if you put that on, if you put that on if anyone is on LinkedIn listening, just put in a comment so we know you're there. Cool. I see people with shows do this all the time though. Say, is anybody there? Is anybody there?
Cool.
Did you just put it on yours?
Yes, I did.
I don't know why. Yeah. Okay, so now your connections will go to so Vivian said she did. And was it after 10 o'clock? Well, that is a bummer.
That's right.
But we're recording it.
Yeah, we're recording it so they can watch it.
Okay, now I'm there. Now I'm there, I think, is Vivian, because she came on last time without a name. It just says LinkedIn user, and that's who it says right now. Now I'm there. So maybe she got on through your profile.
Cool.
Okay.
Hi, Vivian. Oh my gosh. It's been so long.
She says I'm there or here. Whichever you want to say. Okay, so we talked about a little bit about imposter syndrome. Do you have any other tips or tricks you want to tell people, first-time leaders, about imposter syndrome?
Yep. I think the best way to kick imposter syndrome's butt is just by being authentic, being yourself, and surrounding yourself with people who will be able to see you and lift you up a bit more. Because if you don't practice, you're just going to be in the same stagnant position. But do something. I think there's a whole couple of challenges going on right now of 30 days of, making videos, or 30 days of doing something that you never thought you'd ever do. Like, try one of those. It'll help you kick your imposter syndrome out and make you more confident in yourself, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another thing that when I did my market research on first-time supervisors and leaders and managers, a lot of the people that I interviewed, the overwhelming amount of people said that often they inherited employees that no one has ever dealt with. So the employee has worked there for years, and now they supervise this employee, this what I call underperforming employee, and they want to do something, but nobody has ever done anything. So do you have any tips or tricks about that?
Yep. So this is one that Christine Trippi, I think you had her on before, right? She's the one who taught me about creating the culture. So everything depends on the culture of the leader. So during your daily huddles, during your daily meetings with your staff, you'll tend to realize the people who are underperformers, overperformers, the ones who want to participate, the ones who don't want to participate. So because of the daily meetings, the person's going to stand out. So then you have to have your one-on-one chats with them and try to figure out, what happened? Why are they not motivated to work anymore? Because there's always some psychological reason, or there's always some underlying reason that we don't know about. Maybe they were passed over 6 times for the promotion that you're in right now. Maybe nobody ever told them why they weren't promoted. Maybe nobody's really ever sat down with them to help them realize the potential that they have. Or maybe nobody's really assessed them to help them realize that maybe this is not the job for them. They could be somebody who's going to be great performing somewhere. Maybe they're into rap, maybe they're into singing, and they're stuck behind a desk, not wanting to do what they're doing right now. So that's the goodness about being a leader and inheriting the staff, is first getting to know them. And she calls it making friends first, right? Make friends first, figure out what can we do to help you with the daily meetings, spice it up, create that culture of being authentic and having fun while you're doing it. And then once you've done that, that's when there'll be people who don't want to be part of the group because that's not them. And maybe they don't belong in that culture, maybe this wasn't it for them, but just don't leave them out there to graze like a cow, right? Like, steer them into the direction that they're supposed to go. It may not be to the job that you're doing right now, but it might be something that's going to benefit them in the long run. So that's how I've tackled inherited teams and creating that culture that we need. And for me, whenever I'll stick to cultures, I always think of the core values of the company that you're working for. If you join a company and you don't know what their core values are, you probably may not end up being happy. And the thing about it is, as people go higher and higher, people are not authentic enough to be truthful with them whenever something goes wrong.
Exactly. It's like the emperor has no clothes, but nobody is willing to say, we all see it, but nobody's willing to do anything about it. And Vivian says, this is a great point. I think what you're talking about is disengagement.
Mm-hmm.
When employees are subject to a succession of poor leaders, it can be easy to check out.
Yes, that is completely correct. Very easy to check out. Just come in, punch out,
Mm-hmm.
clock in, clock out. That's it. But just taking the time to get to engage them back again.
Mm-hmm.
Get them excited about their job. Get them excited about coming to work. Like, let's start with that. If you're going to spend 8 hours with me or 10 hours with me, that's 8 or 10 hours away from your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's make it fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I tell the clients that I coach that are in this position that everyone is watching you. Everyone sees this person not pulling their weight.
Yeah.
Again and again. So like Vivian mentioned disengagement. So it can be like a cancer and it can grow and grow and grow. And let's see what else Vivian has to say. Sometimes you have people with great potential, but who no longer feel they are part of the organization, and thus their motivation suffers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. And that's the one thing about a leader is you need to be able to motivate.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
have to learn how to motivate people.
what are your tips on how to motivate people?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
I'm just going to look over here for a minute to see if anyone is trying to join. So, but I'm listening.
Okay, sounds good. So when it comes to, let's see what Vivian is saying. The important thing too is to treat everyone individual. Yep. Don't let the narrative written by others lead your management of this person. Oh my gosh, that is so true. That is so true. Because when you inherit a staff, you inherit the staff that will talk about the other staff and how, oh, you shouldn't trust that person. They lie a lot. Or, oh, her, she just sits there all day, every day. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't work. Yet she could be the hardest worker around. That is so true.
If they were motivated.
If they were motivated, yeah.
Yeah.
If they were motivated. So motivating staff, the thing about it is, Vivian talks about individuality. It really depends on the individual because you can't motivate everybody with the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You really can't. You have to know the people that you are working with. And as people say, working for, because they're not working for you as a leader. Mm-hmm. You're working for them. So find out what really excites them. It could be even a show, a TV show. Maybe they binge watched Outlander or Doctor Who, and taking the 2 seconds to talk about that and find out what they really like and bonding with them about what they really like, mm-hmm. They feel a connection with you. Mm-hmm. And then now they start to trust you because they're like, oh, I didn't know you like this show. Oh, did you watch like last weekend's 90 Day Fiance? This happened and then this happened. And then next thing you know, it's a half hour you guys have talked. And when they come out of the conversation, they're like, oh, so what did you want me to do for you today? This and this and this. Oh, cool. I'm going to get right on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of my mentors was like that. He didn't watch too much TV, but he found out that one of my employees and me as well, but we watched, there's this show that was on PBS. I'm trying to remember what it was. But he would watch it just so that he could talk to us about it.
Wow. See, now that is really engaging.
It is, right? And his associate engagement score was always 90 to 100% every year. All of the associates loved him. And he won awards and he was one of my mentors. He was just fantastic. He would walk around the hotel and he would know every little thing about every person. Oh, how is your auntie's baby doing now? How is just that small engagement motivates people, just getting to know them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And That makes people feel so good that you remember that I'm a person, that I'm an individual. So, Vivian, I think that if we go in with the idea that the employee is the problem, we've already lost a valuable opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
From employees' perspective, often leaders are the problem. So what's the real story? Great tips, Elizabeth. What are you?
What you're talking about is developing the
Okay, it's not
interpersonal
showing on the
relationship.
screen, but you can see it over here.
Yeah. So she says, Elizabeth, great tips, Elizabeth. What you were talking about is developing the interpersonal relationships that lead to trust building. Oh my gosh, yes. Knocked it right down there. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Can't argue that out at all. And you'll
Nope.
read that in so many books. You'll see a lot of people telling you that. You need to
Mm-hmm.
make that connection. You have to, trust building is everything. As soon as an employee cannot trust you, oh my gosh, it goes downhill from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once you fib to an employee and they find out,
Mm-hmm.
your hardest worker, not anymore, because they don't trust you. That is so correct, Viv. Thank you. I love it.
It takes a short amount. It takes a long time to build trust and a very short amount of time to break it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't read the whole book, but I read a little bit of Stephen Covey's son, who was also called Stephen Covey. His book called The Speed of Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And what I remember from it was that multi-billion-dollar deals can be done on a elevator ride.
Yeah.
If there's a level of trust. And because you're just, I'm going to do this, that sounds good. Then I'm getting off the elevator. And, but with people you don't trust, it's not going to work it's not going to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True. So we can think about some of the communication strategies we can use to mitigate conflict.
Mm-hmm.
She was my communications professor. I love how you put that in there like that, Viv.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, one of the communication strategies I find that is most important is listening.
Yep.
And I just think everyone wants to know that I'm not invisible,
Mm-hmm.
that you see me, that you hear me.
Yep. You've been heard.
Yeah.
That is definitely one of them. I think there's a book called Crucial Conversations.
Uh-huh. Tell me more about it. I took a class on that.
And what I loved about this book is one of the hardest things as a first-time leader is having to tell somebody that they didn't do their job particularly well,
Mm-hmm.
having to give them that feedback that's going to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that we don't realize about ourselves is we get very uncomfortable when we have to share something negative
Mm-hmm.
about a person's behavior or the work that they did.
Mm-hmm.
So Crucial Conversations actually walks you through it. I'm trying to remember who the author is, but
I'll look it up.
That book was really integral as a leader in realizing that if you do not overcome that feeling, you're doing a disservice to the person that you're trying to be a mentor to, or
Mm-hmm.
to the people under you, or the people that you're trying to lead. Because if they're not aware that they're doing something that may not be going with everything else, they're not aware of it. They think they're always doing right. So then what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you leave, right? Then somebody else is going to come and tell them in a harsh voice, Who taught you how to do that? That's not how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then now they're brought down a couple of pegs, which was not necessary. If you had just been able to realize, let me tell this person this and let them know that it's for their benefit. It's not for my benefit. It's for yours. I'm sharing this with you to make you better.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you're better, you can move from this stage that you're at right now, because you want to become a leader, right? For you to be a leader, you must be stronger at what you do and start to think ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And as we mentioned before, better to make the mistakes right now, because somebody's going to be honest enough to tell you, compared to when you're sitting up there making your billions of dollars and thinking you're making everybody happy when the rest of your employees are so mad at you that you're not listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
They got tired of talking, and you're not listening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And wouldn't it be, I look back on my career and I don't know that I've ever had anybody pull me aside and say, hey, here's a tip. Just work on this, or don't do this, or something. And I may have been upset at the beginning, but I would have, now that I'm older, I would have so valued that person who was honest with me.
Yeah.
Before I forget, crucial conversation, tools for talking when stakes are high, Kerry Patterson, Joseph Grenny, and Ron McMillan.
Is it a red and white book?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Over 1 million copies sold. New York Times bestseller.
That really helped me out when I became a leader, because I was very nervous giving feedback. Like we at corporate are told to give reviews every year, and they give you the tools and the resources to do that. However, a conversation like this is much harder to have than you filling out a paper or a survey. So that crucial conversations helps you realize, changes your perspective that, hey, Joan, so this is what we can work on. Don't look at it as a super negative. It's really not. It's, imagine if you master this, you'll become great at it. Then we can go through the next thing. And it really, really, really helped me out when I had to have those tough conversations of, I don't know if you're going to be able to do the job that you just applied for. That has happened where somebody's been in the same position for years and they keep wondering, why do I keep getting passed over? Why are they getting somebody from outside the company to come and do this job, which I know I can do?
Right.
But it's just because, you may not realize, maybe you gossip.
Exactly.
You didn't know that the person that you're telling all of these things to is your best friend, right? But your best friend is going and telling everybody else about what's going on. And you're not intentionally gossiping. You're just talking to the wrong person who is just sabotaging your whole career for no reason. But if somebody had just sat down with them and be like, okay, you know what? First of all, you're really good at what you do. Really, really good at what you do. And you'll be perfect for this position. However, be careful who you talk to. When you're frustrated about something, I know you want to go tell your friend, but guess what your friend's going to do? Friend's going to go tell 6 million other people. It's going to go back to your boss. And then now your boss is going to know you're pissed off at them.
Well, then that comes back to trust. And then me, as your boss, I can't trust you because you can't keep a confidence.
Exactly.
So it's very little things. I'm really glad that you mentioned gossiping, because gossiping is so destructive, and we all do it. We all, we're all fallible human beings. So, but to just really be careful who you're talking to and make sure that they're closed mouthed. They can keep a confidence. Yeah.
Yeah. But not even making them aware of it. Just as Viv says, we've gone through this so many times. The person keeps getting passed over that they just like check out. They don't even care anymore because nobody just had that crucial conversation of, you know what, you're really good at your job. You're really good at motivating people. You would be perfect for this position. All we need you to work on in the next month or two is this. Try that out. See how it benefits you. Then we can look into promoting you, you know?
And then I say to my clients, if that has been done, you know, it's unfortunate that people didn't follow through with it, but that's your job now. Is to follow through. Nobody likes to discipline. Nobody likes to do the process, the paperwork, keeping track of everything that is needed and all the HR regulations. Nobody wants to do it, but now you have it. Do you want to be another person that passes this person along, or do you want to do something about it? Because your team is suffering and watching you.
Yep.
That this person is getting away. So why should I come to work on time when this person does this or this person does that? Yeah.
And it all comes down to the culture.
All comes down to the culture, which you said before.
Yeah. If you are okay with the gossiping that's happening, it will continue to happen. But if you create an environment where everybody is just excited to be here to help each other, to go ahead and meet the goals that we set ourselves to, then there's not going to be enough time for you to even gossip. When somebody starts, another associate is like, you know what, you just stop. Let's just keep this going. You know, you're now bringing the mood down with whatever it is you're saying. And clearly, whoever ends up being stopped on the gossiping starts to feel like an outsider, just a bit.
Absolutely.
And then they realize maybe this is not the culture that I want to be in. And they just leave by themselves, or they change their attitude. But the leader has to be diligent in doing that, in helping everybody be excited about what they're doing every day, going over their goals every day, incentivizing, motivating, all of that nice stuff.
As a leader in a large organization context, what specific learning do you think new leaders need to prepare for their new role? In an ideal world, what type of education would these individuals need to improve their ability to succeed in the in their role from the onset?
So bear with me a moment. What specific learning do you think new leaders need to prepare for their new role? In an ideal world, what type of education would these individuals need to improve their ability to succeed in their role from the onset? Wow, that's a Vivian question. Because she knows her communications class really helped me out. Her organization and communications class really helped me out. So for those who are blessed to be able to get a bachelor's or an undergraduate or certificate or diploma in, you know, what they'd like to do. So if it's business management, I think that tends to help. Surrounding yourselves with mentors really definitely helps. For me, if we look at the first question, what specific learnings do you think new leaders need to prepare for their new role? The one thing I've always ever said is when you apply for a job, read the job description over and over and over again. Then make sure you take a look at your goals. What is expected of you for this role? Then from there, you can start equipping yourself with the resources that you're going to need. So do you need, if communication is going to be a big thing in your role, can you get a certificate for it? Can you read more about it? Can you look up a mentor that you like that does it really, really well? I was blessed enough to, while I was working, to do my bachelor's, which helped with the education portion of it, which is thankfully where I got to meet Vivian. And having those classes really helps. Now, if you're not able to do that, right? Because education sometimes may not be something that's achievable right now. It will be achievable a bit later. The self-growth, self-help really help. That's just my idea. What do you think, John?
Well, tell me, I love reading self-help. self-help books. I basically only read nonfiction. And so, what are some of the self-help books that you like?
Ooh, before I answer that, she says, what can educators and or higher education do to help with this? Oh, there we go. Oh, for some reason, I feel like asking Joan that question first to answer it, and then
Okay,
I'll
sure,
answer.
sure. I don't want you to ever to feel that you're on the spot. Um,
I just like
uh,
listening to you talk.
Thank you. I think, and I think the tide is turning, that we're now much more aware of emotional intelligence and what we used to call soft skills. But the soft skills are really the hard skills, because pretty much all leaders today say don't hire for talent, hire for the person, and if they're a fit in the culture and if they're motivated, and that I can teach you the rest. Like the guy, like if we go back to digging ditches, I can teach you how to dig a ditch. I can teach you when you need by law to have shoring in there to make sure it doesn't cave in on us. But can I teach you integrity, um, confidentiality, a work ethic? Do you have those things? So some companies now are using personality tests and things like that before, as a part of hiring people.
Yeah,
And yeah, a lot of people, I can't really think, some really famous person said, just don't hire for talent, hire for if they can fit into the culture and if if they're motivated.
yeah. The goodness about it is, one thing that Vivian did teach me while we were in school, while I was in school, is the role of the educator makes such a big difference. An educator that understands the students and where they're coming from makes a very, very big difference.
Mhm.
The educator can teach you the hard skills that we're talking about, right? They can teach you the business management classes. They can teach you, oh, this is how you budget. This is how you balance a P&L. This is how you do this and this and this. But we do need the educators, which thankfully they are there, of teaching you how to communicate, how to understand where the employees are coming from. In an ideal world, that's the type of education we want to ensure that is there, because as you said, I can teach you how to dig a ditch, but how are you going to motivate everybody else to dig the ditch the way you dug it
Mhm.
and be excited about it?
Mhm.
The educators understand that and then help you with that. So yes, I'm going to teach you how to balance a profit and loss statement, but I also need to help you understand that the people who are going to run that business for you to give you that money that you're going to balance a profit and loss statement in, you need to understand them.
Mhm.
You need to know how to break disengagement. You need to learn how to motivate people. All of those are skills that educators can arm themselves with and are arming themselves with to help the students now.
Mhm.
I don't know if that answered the questions.
Well, and I also think like what educators can do is more role play, more storytelling, more examples
Yeah.
of, sometimes we talked about this before when we hit the live button, but um, some of our best teachers are bad leaders, because we look at them and we go, "Oh, okay, that I don't really know what to do, but I know not to do that. I know that is not what I want to do." So,
Yes. Oh my
mhm,
gosh, yes. Because you see, you are under the lead, exactly what you said. You're under the leader that's a bad leader. They don't get to know you. They
mhm,
expect you to do everything,
mhm.
and do it right without having showed you how to do it.
Or to tell you specifically what they want.
Exactly. So then you, as the employee, are just looking at them and realizing, I want to make sure I become a leader that's not like you.
Mhm.
I'm going to make sure that I train my associates. I'm going to make sure that I talk to them. I want to make sure I understand where they're coming from. I want to make sure that I'm empathetic with their situations because this specific leader was not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is so true.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-mm.
A couple other things I wanted to talk about that first-time leaders often deal with is overwhelm. Do you have any tips for someone who is in overwhelm in their new position? Because what I find is that they've had their own workload. Now they have their own workload and they have to supervise 3 or 5 or whatever. It could be more than that. I think the most should be 8 or whatever, but people's workload. So they're coming to them with questions and the new leader doesn't really ever get their own work done. And so they're just totally overwhelmed, working crazy hours, just no breaks.
Yep. And that's very prevalent in the pandemic right now, because there were so many furloughs, there were so many layoffs. So a person who was already doing 3 people's worth of work is now doing 5 people's worth of work. And unfortunately, because of money restraints, right, they're not able to give them the people that are usually there, which is now overwhelming the people who are there. And they start to feel burnout because yes, they're working 7 days a week. Sometimes they're working 5, but they're doing 18 to 20 hours a day and feeling frustrated. So how do you battle that? Well, what has always helped is sitting down with your boss and coming to an understanding of what are the top priorities you would like me to work on. They'll probably be like, well, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. And I want you to do this. Okay, get a paper and a pen. Let's write this down.
Definitely.
So I've written those 3 things. So then now you authentically, because you have to be authentic in this process. There's no name calling, no blame game. It's I'm sitting down with you to help you understand where I'm coming from and to help me understand where you're coming from. So you as the boss, you are expecting this amount of things to do, for me to do. I only have enough time to do 2 of those things. What would you like me to tackle first? And can you get me help for the other list of things that are still remaining to be done? Because the thing is, it's about communication. The worst thing is you sit there and you just get overwhelmed and you feel like you're backed up into a corner and the only thing you can do is quit. Start with the communication. Open that up. Sit down with your boss. Let them know what's going on. Now, some bosses don't want to listen. They may say they're listening, but then you start realizing they're just they've gone somewhere else, right? But starting that process of sitting down with them and helping them realize, hey, I had 3 people's work to do. You had asked me to do 1, 2, 3. Then you added on an employee to me to train. That's a 4th thing that I'm doing. Then you've asked me that I need to stay a bit longer because somebody called out. That's another thing for me to do. So I would love you to help me, because we're not blaming anybody here, right? I would love you to help me understand how I can work this out to be productive for you for all of these things.
Right.
So then they realize, oh, dang, you're doing all of those things? Yep, I'm doing all of those things. Oh, okay, you know what? Maybe I can get this other person over here to do this. Let's get that off of your plate, okay? Let's do this and this and this. The understanding needs to happen, the realization. But don't forget that your boss is probably in the same situation you are, right? He or she has 10 things now. You have 5. He has 10 or she has 10.
Plus you.
Plus you. Plus you're coming and talking to him about all this additional work that you just did. But the one thing that for me that has always helped is asking that question of, what do you think? So you've asked me to do all of these things. Can I start with this? Can I do this? Can I do, what do you think about that? So then your boss is going to be like, well, I don't think this is going to work. At the end of that conversation, just be like, okay, so we've settled on the 2 things that you want me to do now, right? The 3 things you want me to do now. What can I help get off of your plate then? So if there's 2 things I'm doing, I'll take 1 off of your plate. There will be 3, and we can organize our time for the remaining. It's not a fire drill all the time. We have to prioritize. We have to triage it, right? If we're going to triage it, I still need to be the person that you put in this position who was helping you. If you overwhelm me with 10 things to do, I can't help you because I start to fail on the 9 things that you gave me to do. Because I'm trying to focus on the 1. So just sitting down with your leader or with your manager and helping them understand where you're coming from and understanding where they're coming from will create that authentic connection that will improve your relationship and hopefully will help them consider not giving you that 10th thing to do. Now, if that doesn't work, I go to Joan here. Let's get some coaching practices. Let's figure this out. Maybe we need to talk about some therapy sessions. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
I do tell people in pretty much any situation, there's 3 options. Accept it, change it, or leave it. And so, can you accept it? Are you going to be able to change it? Probably not. Are you able to leave? More than likely not. More than likely, I mean, most people can't just go, okay, I'm not coming tomorrow. Because we all have bills that are overdue, and, most people, are in debt. And so can you find a way where you can accept it, where you can make some strict boundaries for yourself, like block out time on your calendar? But I want to get back to what you were saying about communication, basically meeting with your boss. I always ask people, well, how often do you meet one-on-one with your boss? Or how often, mostly I'm dealing with first-time leaders. So how often do you meet one-on-one with your staff? And they'll say, not often. And I'm like, okay, we need to do it once a week. And the employee brings the agenda. So this isn't something else that you as the leader have to prepare. The employee brings the agenda. Now I may tell him or her every time I need to know about, is there any upcoming personnel changes? Is someone looking for a job? Is someone going to leave for maternity? Is someone scheduling a long vacation? And so we're going to talk about that. We're probably going to talk about budget. So, I mean, I have input on what I want you to tell me each week. And for sure, I want to know as soon as possible if something's going to go above me. So, so that I don't look like I don't know it. I didn't know.
Yeah. You're catching it before it starts flying away.
Exactly. Let's see one other question that Vivian says. I like the way Elizabeth described how that conversation plays out. It's factual, objective, and not driven by emotions on the part of the individual who is stating in clear, factual terms what is workload, inviting a collaborative approach. And I think that's so important as the leader, right? Because people are going to come to you all the time and saying, I'm overworked, I'm stressed out. So I like what you're saying, Elizabeth, and what Vivian is saying. Let me see what you got. Because I can tell you for sure, for me, for the times that I have been in that position, I often don't know what my employees are doing. And I often don't know how long something I ask them to do is going to take. Right? So we meet. How's that project going? Are you 20% complete? Are you 80% complete? Oh my gosh, I had no idea you had to do that to finish that. I thought it was going to be a quick, easy thing. So we have communication, because there's people that are going to say, I'm overwhelmed, but they don't have the data, the facts to back it up.
Yeah.
So then what do you do all day? Let me know. What does your day look like? And then you're running, as a leader, you're going to run into people who don't want to give you the information. Well, then I can't help you.
Yeah. And some people are also not very, do not know yet how to communicate their problem to you. And it could just be that they don't know how to say it, but it's frustrating them to the point. So just trying to figure out a roundabout way of asking the same question. It's like, okay, so what's stopping you in your tracks right now from doing this? And they're like, I don't know. It's just every time I sit in front of that computer, I just can't. I don't know, you know. And you're like, oh, okay, how do I start tackling this?
Exactly.
I don't know how to use I can't. It's like, you know, when 5-year-olds don't really know how to tell you what's really bugging them. And is it your stomach? Is it your head? Is it your you have to bring it down to that point. And I'm not saying that it's because they're kids. No. Sometimes the communication, if you're speaking, you have to speak differently to different people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't use the same, sometimes you can't use the same words for everybody because they understand differently. So it's not that you're really, some people call it dumbing it down. No, you're just learning a new way of communicating to somebody. So yeah, that's the tough part.
Well, it is tough, and it's tough being a first-time leader that you could have these things happen. Back to what you were saying, I call it situational leadership. I've studied situational leadership, and it's like you lead the person where they are. So my approach is based on where the person is on their competency level and their commitment level, and that can be very helpful. We're kind of coming up on the end. Let's see. We just have a few more minutes.
Delegation.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Delegation. So tell us a few tips about first-time leaders that I speak to. Are one of the reasons they're overwhelmed, and I'm not pointing fingers, and it's just that they don't either know how to or want to delegate or say this really, really difficult word, NO. So, you know, they're drinking out of a fire hose. They don't really need to be. So, do you have any tips for our listeners about how to delegate?
I love that. I've never heard that before. You're drinking out of a fire hose. I love it. So I do come across that a lot with the people that I have mentored. And it usually is always first-time leaders, because the first-time leaders were what we call individual contributors. So they were really good at digging that ditch. That's why you picked them, right? They dug it well, cut them corners really well. And you were very impressed by the way they did it. Now, at that point in time, did they show any leadership skills? No. They were just really good at doing what you asked them to do. And they did it really well how you asked them to do it. So now you take that person out of the ditch, then you tell them, okay, I have 4 people who need to dig the same ditches you just dug, like in that same exact way. Here you go, bye. Which is what we started with. That's usually what happens with first-time leaders is, let me get you out of there. I'm going to give you a pay hike. I'm going to give you the raise. I'm going to give you a title. Now, since you did it really well, I think you can manage other people on how to do it. And most of them are going to be like, but nobody can do it the way I do it. That's where they get stuck at. Remember my corners? They were 45 degrees. They were 90 degrees really well. Nobody can make them like that. And you're like, okay.
And they constantly come to me and ask me, how did I do it? show me how to do it. Show me how to do it. Show me how to do it. So I have to help them because they don't know how to do it.
Oh, yeah. That's true. And it's more of helping them realize, okay, so first of all, why did we get you out of the ditch, right? Did we got it because we saw potential in you of being a leader. So we have to first explain that. I saw potential of you being able to teach people how to make the ditch the way you made it. Now, what I need to help you with is convincing those 4 people of how to do it as well as you did. Because you'll get 4 people and they don't want to dig a ditch. Or they'll dig it, we want to call it half-ass. Like, all right, I'm done. It's break time. I got to take my smoke break. So how are you going to motivate them to dig the ditch the way you did? And that's the fun part about leadership. It's so let me teach you how to teach them how to dig the ditch the way you did. But make it fun this time. Make it really, really fun for them that when they've dug a ditch, you can now create another leader. Because if you do it yourself, you doing it yourself is not benefiting you either. It's really not. So you're a leader of 4 people, then you ended up doing the work that they were supposed to do.
Right.
It's not productive. A. B, you may think it makes you look good, but the 4 people who you just took the job away from are like, why did I even come to work?
It's demotivating.
Yeah. What was the point of this? So you paid me $14 an hour to dig that ditch, and I didn't even end up digging it. You dug all 4.
And you know what? I know that you are going to rescue me every time. So I'm going to come to work and I'm going to stand here and hold my shovel, but I'm just going to ask you, oh, I don't remember. I'm just going to play dumb every time, and you're going to help me.
Exactly. So let's, first of all, let me teach you how to pick 4 people who actually want to dig ditches. Let's start there. If you're forced or you inherit 4 people who are already in that position, how do we motivate them to dig those ditches? Because you're not helping yourself and you're not helping them when you do the work for them. Because the experience is better. It's the journey. When they start digging and they realize, look, I found something. Now they're really excited. Maybe they just found $20 in that ditch. I don't know. Maybe they found a treasure that they can keep, right? So then now they're excited and they show the other person, look what I found, dude. Let's keep digging. Let's see what else we can get. That's one way of looking at it.
Right.
But you are taking that away. You're taking that experience away from them by you doing it yourself.
Right.
You're doing a disservice to the people that you will be leading. Then maybe leadership is not for you.
Right. I think that's really, really important what you just said. Yeah. That the learning is not going to be, no one's learning, no one's benefiting by you rescuing or you continually doing it for them.
Yep. Now, don't mistake that with giving an example, because you can show them how to dig the ditch. That's not a problem. You can definitely show them, be in there with them, be that frontline leader. Don't be the individual contributor, be that frontline leader. Yes, let's dig it this way. Yep, hey, you can go in there with them. Okay, so you remember the corners? This is how we want to try and do it. Let me see you do it. Let's try that out. What do you think about this? And then you get somebody else. Okay, what do you think about his corners? Do they look really good? What about her corners? Do they look really good? What can we do here to help each other out? Right? And then you got finished with your corner. How about you help number 2 over here? He seems to be, needing some help. So that's better. You're creating a team, first of all. And then now they'll have the mindset of a leader. Of like, I don't want to take this experience away from somebody else. Now I want somebody to go through exactly what I went through, because maybe they'll find a treasure as well.
Yep.
So that's what I think about delegation.
Well, I'll tell you, it just brings me back to it's not easy to be a first-time leader.
No.
And to have patience with yourself and to reach out, as you said, Elizabeth, reach out for mentors or help, find someone that can help you.
Yeah.
And the hour is up, so I want to respect your time. Is there any last tips or tricks or anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
So we talked about the imposter syndrome. We talked about inheriting staff. We talked about self-care and the overwhelm, and we talked about delegation. The one thing, if anything, if you only watch the end of this recording, that I would want you to take away is, yes, you'll have mentors. Yes, you have people that you look up to. Yes, you may have gone to school for it. Just don't forget to keep on learning.
Mm-hmm.
Read those books.
Mm-hmm.
Be the hardest worker in the room, right? Strategize, think ahead. There's a book called Who Moved My Cheese? If you don't like reading, if you hate reading, Who Moved My Cheese is the easiest book to read. It's this thin, but it has leadership right in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can always listen to books as well. So don't say reading is, too much work. You can listen to a book, but it's all about change. It's all about strategizing, but you need to grow yourself in order to help other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to carry a conversation where me and you, Joan, exchange books. Like, this is the book you're reading. This is the book I'm reading. So then now you just gave me a world that I didn't know existed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can take that away. And then when I go somewhere else, and then I'm going to share, oh, hey, have you read this book? No, I don't read books. Okay, let me just give you a synopsis of it. Intrigue.
Yep.
So that's what I would say.
That's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. It was really great.
I loved it.
It should be live on your LinkedIn anytime, and I'll send you a copy.
Sounds good.
Let me just hit this end stream, and then you and